Alright friends, Bannerlord is back, and with a massive new 1.3 update patch, we breathe fresh life into this fantastic medieval game. The game is even more beautiful than ever, and many new combat features have been added as well. Many new features were announced, and we're just wrapping our heads around the changes. In this new short series, we'll cover the changes you need to know about, and perhaps help you out in your own game as well. Buckle up. Alright, we got a hideout right here. That'll work. Let's go ahead and start recording here. Welcome back again, friends, to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. Our YouTube channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related. We just started recording our first gameplay session from Bannerlord Update 1.3. Now, there's a hideout here that I was going to engage in, but it looks like before that happens, we're going to have battle. I literally just started recording, and we're being chased down here by a Western Empire force. We're playing a save game from our Disaster of War series. Some people might recognize Calanandros. I reached out to him via email because his campaign is kind of in the early to mid stage where there should be a lot of the elements from this new patch at stake. Now, he's got javelins. Eventually we're going to try slings. Eventually we will check out the new hideouts and the stealth system. Of course, we'll do plenty of tactics on the channel, and that's what is going to be our focus. It's going to continue to be our focus on the channel, is tactics. There's a lot of content providers. Got infantry mixed with my archers for some reason. There's a lot of Bannerlord content providers that frankly have both first movers advantage because they're Johnny on the spot. I'm a full-time firefighter. I can't always just sit and watch and wait for updates, but also they're better at it. They're more experienced at it. I will stick to battlefield tactics, game mechanics to help you win in Bannerlord and help you understand how this new patch is going to change the game. Now, we had a very brief session earlier, an ignominious session, some people might say. Now we have everything legal and in order here, no feathers being ruffled, and we're going to give an analysis of the game. What changes were made? How much better is cavalry with the AI improvements? If you see the patch notes, and I'm not going to post them here because they're literally 4 or 5 pages worth of patch notes, it's going to take us weeks to really fully understand this patch and all the changes. A lot of them are going to be subtle. Some of them will be more profound, things like the stealth system. But my main goal, I figure, my main job as a content provider here, I've just decided is going to be on the tactical side, on the combat side, specifically battlefield combat with command, strategies, understanding what units are best, army composition, things like that. Now, graphically, the game is most certainly improved. It's much more crisp. At the same time, I would say it's polished. It's even more beautiful and scenic. It really does feel like I'm riding around on a horse in the year 1086 or something like that. My smallpox has started to itch again. There's no question the graphics are an immediate upgrade that you notice right away. I've already seen a beautiful sunset. It's going to be interesting to see also what kind of weather effects are in the game. I don't know. Of course, I read the patch notes like a lot of people. I don't think there were a lot of dramatic weather changes. Now, we're going to do some tactics, of course. The name of the channel you're watching is Tactical Enlightenment. We have basically 2 different skirmisher divisions. I have so many lake rats in our army because they're attached to this guy's campaign. They're his only minor clan, that we're actually going to do variations of dismounting cavalry and using our heavy cavalry in squares. I'm going to use cavalry, of course, offensively, but my early handful of custom battles did not yield very promising results. And what I mean by that is I think most people, including, of course, the makers of the RBM mod, are hopeful that eventually Bannerlord, the cavalry is properly devastating. Not dominant, not overwhelming on the battlefield, but my early indications from this new patch is that cavalry is still extremely weak. So weak that I think dismounting them makes a lot of sense, even though historically, while there were examples of that, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Normally cavalry were used to move quickly, to screen, to run down troops that were trying to reform, etc. So I've got two different skirmisher divisions, the 1st and 6th. The 3rd division is over here by the rock. Those are all shock troops. Meanwhile, I have this division here. It's basically just all former cavalry in a square. And what's nice about that is that's your highest tiered units. And so there's your Vanguard Ferris, your Elite Cataphract, and stuff like that. Meanwhile, I have two different divisions of Javelin guides here. Javelins remain, of course, a major part of the channel. We push Javelins the same way a drug dealer might push Coke. They're amazing, right? Just like, well, Coke's not amazing. I guess I better not say that. My channel will be banned immediately. I don't use drugs at all, but Javelins are definitely amazing. And they're addicting. Once you start firing Javelins all around the battlefield, the world just feels different. Now, I've got this shock troop division, and I'm just waiting for the enemy to be vulnerable. You can actually see I'm pulling the enemy back in here, and I actually want to get off my horse here and do a little bit of the crouched combat. I'm trying to show you guys basically as many things as I can without massive editing. Now, I've charged with that shock troop division just to buy me a little bit of space here. We'll pull this other skirmisher division next to me, and let's do a little, crouching by the rocks here. See what we can do now. It's a small change, but you can now actually crouch and throw javelins. I presume use the slings. If you haven't heard, there are slings, a medieval weapon. It's more of an ancient weapon that have been added to the game. We will definitely try those today. I think slings come off the bow. Actually, I think it's the throwing skill, although we shall see. But as you can see, we can reload and fire javelins here from a crouched position. Advantage javelin throwers, right? Advantage ranged units, which is a little disconcerting. Because already it feels like Bannerlord, there's a pretty significant ranged advantage. I apologize for the steam noises. We will do our best to make sure that that is turned off during one of these little breaks here. You might hear messages in the background, a bunch of silly drama because I got a little bit sloppy. We have made things right. I have made my apologies, and people understand that sometimes you make mistakes in life. No harm intended. So this force here is melting pretty hard, right? We have these 4 different infantry divisions. We've pushed them in now. The archers, the enemy archers look like they're hanging way back, which is kind of a problem, right? The enemy archers need to be up here shooting close to do damage. I really didn't even feel their cavalry attack us. Of course, we're positioning against the rocks here so that their cavalry are pretty helpless, right? They don't have a lot of capacity to charge when we have all these physical objects around us restricting that. Now, there is that nice little effect, I've mentioned it before, when you make orders, it kind of enters this state, almost like Saving Private Ryan, where you get shell shock, where the sounds get kind of muted, everything slows down a little bit. I like it. It's a nice effect. Maybe it'll get old or something like that, but it's a good change for sure. Now, this force here melted pretty bad, and of course that's going to be the case today in this playthrough. With the amount of time we've spent playing Bannerlord, the amount of experience we have, I don't anticipate getting speared off my horse by a recruit. Okay, that was a good change. The enemy's reforming here, and they were still able to defend themselves. I like that. Typically, a routing or a reforming enemy is just absolutely trash. They get mangled. And even though they have almost twice our forces here, I think we're still good. Now, this is one of the hazards of playing the new mod, and unfortunately there's no RTS mod, at least at the time of this recording, for this new version. I'm sure the modders will be working quickly, if they haven't already, to make the RTS mod available for 1.3. Do not expect mercy. Off with your head. So this is new. I don't know what this is. You can't treat prisoners this way. All the other lords. So some of this messaging is new for me here. Fine then. I guess, does this take us straight to the execution scene? I don't know what this is. This is an outrage. I don't know. So I haven't seen this before. You guys are going to be exploring some of this. Prepare to die. Oops. Well, fortunately, this is not our main campaign. It doesn't really matter today. Now, you can go straight to the execution screen from the combat. It'd be nice if there was a cinematic, like all your troops are surrounding, or maybe the enemy prisoners were all on their knees while you executed them. Nevertheless, maybe I guess we can avoid the horrifically gory. But now you can execute, evidently, the enemy directly after the battle. In other words, you don't have to go into the menu, search for them, and then execute them in some dark corner. You can do it right away, so you can experience the joy of cutting down one of the prominent heroes and then executing them moments afterwards. Now, while we look for the next object of detail, although I guess this hideout probably makes the most sense, we definitely want to engage in a hideout here. I want to see what the hideout system's all about. I want to see there were changes made to many different things, including the hideout and the stealth system, and that is something that we will look for early on here. Now, this is different. I read about this. Cities, once they upgrade a certain building, I think it's a gatehouse or something like that, they get a unit of troops that rides around, and it says this. It says Ortiza Patrol. So it looks like it's 12 troops. It's kind of pathetically small. But at least there's, this little additional element, kind of like real life, where you would have guards and scouts and patrols, right? Basically searching around your city. It'd be nice if they ran to the city or even acted as a scout and said, hey, there's an enemy force over here that's a day away. The patrol spotted it, but we shall see. It looks like right now that it's just a small force that maybe will add into battles or attack you if you have a tiny force. Let's see. We obliterate this force in the open here. We're going to have some combat for today. Oops, they just took the city, which is fine. They should come out at some point or other and we will fight them. We're going to try hideouts. We're going to try slings. I will continue to talk about the balance. Like most people, I'm seeking balance in Bannerlord. I think it's important, even if it's not historically accurate. Some people are like, well, archers always dominated the battlefield. And I'm like, not really. I'm a student of military history, and archers definitely have not dominated the battlefield throughout history. There have been times, clearly, in other battles where it was profound. Battle of Crécy, the Battle of Agincourt, they were profoundly impactful. And let's try to trap this army here while we ramble on and on about history. But I think just from a game perspective, this guy just easily allowed us to trap him, or at least so it seems. There were significant AI notes. They made AI improvements to everything from small armies to caravans to battlefield commands, and of course we're going to explore that with today's episode. So I have this trembling lake rat wrecker hiding behind us like a yapping dog, and I was able just to chase this Western Empire force to the river. I mean, they acted pretty bad there. They basically looked like that Russian general at Friedland who wet the bed and all his troops got slaughtered against the river by Napoleon. Nevertheless, we'll fight this battle, but let me finish that point on balance. I think most people would like to see some element of rock, paper, scissors. It doesn't have to be exact or precise. The concept being archers destroy infantry, infantry destroy cavalry, cavalry destroy archers, but as we enjoy these graphics again. But I think right now my early hunch is that cavalry, which is supposed to be pretty impactful at this era of the world, right? The 1200s, they were definitely trampling some shit. 12th century 1100s, cavalry were very impactful in battle. My gut instinct so far, from what I've seen, about an hour of gameplay, hour and a half of gameplay, is that cavalry is still way too weak. And that's a real shame, right? Hopefully that gets adjusted, or hopefully we discover something maybe in today's play session that they're not actually as weak, because my early impression is that they're really weak still, and archers and ranged units dominate. So we will continue to progress with tactics, and I will continue to explore this new mod. Now look at this. The shadowing is really cool. There's shadows from the clouds. That is awesome. That's quite dynamic. Here we're doing a shield and shock tactic. Their cavalry is being held up by our defensive cavalry. Shock troops charge on the other side. We have archers spraying arrows into there. I've got this 8th Corps. I can just position wherever I want. Of course, we outnumber the enemy, so they had no chance of winning this battle anyways. They were trying to run, right? They didn't want to fight here anyways. But I don't think these forces... Well, I don't think in today's play session we're going to experience any challenges. Part of the reason, of course, is I have vast experience of Bannerlord. At this stage, we're an experienced tactician, to be sure. but also this is vanilla. And what I mean by that is vanilla Bannerlord, even on the hardest difficulty, once you have some experience, is fairly easy just to crash your way through these enemy forces. Here they're cowering behind their shields and still getting melted because we have a lot of archers. Once they get close enough, the skirmishers are going to unleash hell, and this Western Empire force is going to insta-die. I'll join them here again. Now we're going to seek out some slings. Anybody who's wondering, I'm definitely going to seek out slings. Trying to think what other changes. We will definitely explore the diplomacy system, the trade alliance system. We will see what we can do with elements like that as we shred this Western Empire force. We will be exploring some more of the village and town elements that have changed, right? Hideouts are different. Prison escapes are different, right? They have added this stealth function that we will certainly explore. We'll do a little siege assault. We'll do a little open field battle, of course. And we'll also experience some random events. We already experienced a few in our illegal play session, but I'm sure more are going to occur. And of course, by now, most of you have either seen the patch notes or heard of some of the rumors of what's coming. Now, javelins still rule the day, and I don't know if you caught that. I hope so, but it looks like they brought back the ragdoll effect. Because this javelin I threw a few seconds ago launched one of the recruits into something that looked like an Olympic athlete trying to do a quadruple flip. He got obliterated by an avalanche shot, and this Western Empire force got obliterated, pushing a 20-to-1 kill ratio here. Anybody wondering, of course, this is Callan Andros from the Disaster of War series. We've helped this guy with a couple different problems before in that series. And he has an unusual army and character spec. It's quite infantry heavy, hence all the skirmishers, hence all the shock troops and stuff like that. It's an amalgamation too. It's not truly an imperial army, even though he's an imperial culture. All right, we don't need to cut off any more heads here. We don't off with their head. I like that feature, but it's a small thing. Hopefully, this update is big from a number of different matters all compacted together. In other words, hopefully the sum of the parts makes this tremendous, because a lot of players, they really love the core of Bannerlord, and I think they're hoping that the developers don't just focus on the DLC, don't just strictly move to ship warfare and the Nords, and continue to fine-tune this beautiful game. Most people feel that have played this game quite a bit that this could be literally one of the greatest games of all time if they just tweaked some things, and that's quite literally that's what I mean and what they mean. It mostly has to do with the AI, and we will continue to explore what the AI looks today, or like how do they counterattack, how do they perform on the battlefield, what do they do on the campaign map, do they siege right in front of you and then get annihilated by your larger army, things like that. And we have our first little event that has happened here as you inspect the siege camp. So the bloody flux, back in the medieval era, they didn't know what to call stuff, so they just, they didn't have the pathology for disease, so they just made up shit based on the symptoms. And you have choices here as a commander. I like this for sure. These are going to add a little layer of micromanagement and immersion, right? You get to play the hard taskmaster commander in this situation, or you can be a little bit more intelligent. Here we're going to take some preventative measures, dig latrines. We're going to make choices in life, and as a commander, the choices they made had an impact on their army, on their morale, on the troops, and I like this part here. Now, there's also new reputation stuff that has been added. You see, increased reputation for impulsive, increased reputation for munificent. These are new, I think, or at least the impulsive, I think, is new. And they could just be iterations on the current system. 2 of your troops got wounded. Some more died. So calculating went up. And maybe these are just imputations on the previous relation system, right? Your traits. I think most people hope that the traits have more to do with the game in the future. They do have some impact. If you're a terrible, tyrannical person, you will get some guys that won't listen to you, etc. All right, well, we've got this force outside getting ready to attack us, but they have no chance. We have a huge force here. We should be able just to smash this city in siege, and we'll see what kind of siege differences there are, right? Are they, are they, it's beautiful light, are there dramatic impacts to the AI in siege? We've heard a lot of stuff, things like the troops using the ladders better, and holy beautiful, right? Get out your cameras. I've already seen some graphics like this, but holy smokes, that's about as beautiful a scene as you could paint, like in an absolute fantasy world. It's smoky, the sun rays are coming through. We can actually take a screenshot from this, but I don't know what to say about that other than it's absolutely stunningly gorgeous. You could see the catapult firing off, because we all like a little bit of dismemberment and guys getting crushed by rocks while we enjoyed a sunset. It's one of the greatest joys in life of all, actually, is experiencing pleasure while somebody who's not you is getting mangled and killed and stuff like that. Human beings have that strange trait. All right, so we are recording, and we're going to reload this just to experience the hideout here. I don't know anything about hideouts other than the stealth system is part of this new update, and it has to do with hideouts. Now, this is interesting. There's different menus here. You can actually fight hideouts during the day, and it makes it harder to hide, of course. You can wait until nightfall, which is the normal approach, and you can actually send troops to clear. I don't know much about this. This will probably be the first of several different hideouts we take on here. Hopefully, they're adding new dynamism to hideouts. It would even be really cool if you could have your own hideout where your bandits are, localized and you're sacking caravans and stuff like that. Now, right away, I notice I get a huge amount of troops here. Normally, you're limited to 10. It looks like we get 40 here, which seems like a lot. I'm going to try it with a lot less. And I'm very curious how this plays out with the stealth system. Again, I don't know anything about this. This is just raw footage here as we explore this new update. I'm actually playing this right now, not too long after I was chastened for releasing material too early. Again, apologies to all parties involved. I definitely meant no harm and thought it was simply released to everybody. I misinterpreted the communication from Tale Worlds. We move on, though. Apologies was accepted. They understand that I was genuine. I think most people watching the stream understood that I was genuine. And here we go. I'm in like civilian gear here. I don't know. I don't have any troops with me, so this is curious. I have no idea what to expect here. Do I have to take the whole hideout myself? And the stealth system is obviously new to me. However, I was an expert at Thief: The Dark Age. I loved that game like 25 years ago. And there's elements of it here, right? This guy, there's like one guy here and I got a little wagon to hide behind. I'm totally digging it. And of course, it makes me think like this is perfect for the first person perspective. Like you can zoom in here and kind of peek to see. Now the guy's got a little, I can see what's going on just intuitively. He's got like a little shield that's lighting up white sort of when he's notified of my presence, right? So we can, I've got these rocks I guess I could throw at him, or I could just try to come up and slit his throat or something like that. I'm not really sure. This is all new, and I don't know how much this is going to impact the game. I know also, I've heard also that you can, whoops, we've been seen. You can use this as well with prison breakouts. Now that's not something I normally play around with, but it's another way for guys to play Bannerlord, and I do think that is great. As we cut this guy down. And I don't see anybody else coming, so it looks like, they did not hear combat 20 feet away. Maybe that's not ultra realistic. This guy should at least be like, what was that noise? Like Thief: The Dark Age. But I like this element, and of course, some people love this part of games where you sneak around and play, sort of furtively. I'm hiding in the lavender bushes here, and we just backstab the shit out of this guy, kick the shit out of him, and dropped him, and I don't see anybody else coming. So a couple of things I don't understand here. I don't have any troops, I guess. Am I supposed to take the whole hideout myself? How do I get my troops in here? Okay, this guy sees me. Oh, shit. But look, the little white thing is going away. So the trees work. So the system is pretty fluent here, right? We found a little tree to hide behind. We're hiding in the lavender. This guy cannot see us. Now, I don't have like a command to choke him out or something like that, right? Some of the best games that are like that, and I don't have any units I can tell what to do. He hears me. He's like, what the fuck? And that's all he heard was the sound of the sword entering his spine. So, I don't know, but some of the best games, whether it's Assassin's Creed or, of course, Thief: The Dark Age and the subsequent Thief series, is pretty damn good at immersing you as being a thief. Now, I don't really care to fight every single guy one at a time here. I'm curious what happens, right? If I just barrel in here, we're going to be exploring. I really don't know anything about this, fellas. You know, of course, you get the patch notes, but I haven't seen anybody else play, of course, because you're not allowed to post any material. Anybody curious, of course, this is a privilege for sure. We're part of a community development page where a dozen or two content providers basically get some kind of access to Tale Worlds. So we did get smashed, and we're going to have to learn more about hideouts in future components of this playthrough. Yeah, pretty quick and easy. Let's see what these building. Oh, see, so here are some new things, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this. We're going to have to play Bannerlord a lot with this new update to understand this. You can change things here in the city, and some of this is new. The guardhouse, for example, you can add a patrol, prison patrol. Well, it's not a prison patrol, but a light patrol party. There are other buildings here that appear like there are small and different changes to the game, and I think that's great, right? They're continuing to refine and make relevant the various different decisions. Now here we go, right? This is what we were talking about an hour ago. There are slings in this city. And again, I don't know for sure if they're throwing or bow skill. I think they're throwing. We're going to go ahead and put on some slings here. We'll take Calanandros's javelins, take away his favorite toy, and we'll try this new toy here. In fact, it makes sense that we would get like a companion set up with these slings as well. Stone sling bullets. Let's see. I don't remember this guy's campaign very well. He's got some Jareeds here. Let's give him a sling. So there are different types of ammunition. I'm sure you have to have the ammunition. And there are different types of slings. And of course, I don't know all the different levels. We're going to just have to experience this in-game. Now, I want to experience the AI here with the campaign movement. Just like Napoleon, tearing apart people, trapping Mac at... in the Napoleonic campaign, battlefield movements before the battle, in other words, strategy as opposed to tactics, are important, very important, right? The enemy should be just surrounding us here with all these different troops trying to trap us and destroy us, but instead it's like every man for himself, and they're all sort of running. Now, Calanandros has a very strong army. We may actually have to reduce the strength of this army, dump a companion or two. Now, here's some interesting stuff, right? Signed a trade agreement with the Southern Empire. So Unquid and the Southern Empire are doing some trade. I mentioned diplomacy. So far, it doesn't seem like we can participate. I can declare war, but nobody's willing to do a trade agreement or do an alliance. It could be that Calanandros has such bad relations with people. This guy, I think, did some beheadings. Of course, we did a beheading by accident at the start of this episode, so maybe nobody's interested in doing trade deals with with beheading people. But we're going to declare some war here because we do want some combat. We do want to continue to understand the combat system. I would say as a whole, the defender did a very serviceable job at Legetta, holding the walls. I liked how they moved their infantry up and sort of tried to squeeze us at the gate. I would give it a B- for battlefield tactics. Now this gets like a D or a fail even. They're going back and forth like they're having a seizure, and they're allowing us basically to capture them here. This smaller army, look at how they're moving back and forth. And again, I was thinking we might have a mod affecting it. There are no mods, right? We have 1.3 and we are playing this completely unaltered. So it's not a terrific sign so far that the AI has been improved. This guy, if anything, you could argue that was worse. In the previous version, they would simply run. Now here they're doing a good job. They're sort of ganging up on some of our lake rats. But this guy here, either that or he's the dumbest commander of all time. Maybe they move based on how intelligent they are, because if that's the case, this guy has 1 or 0 intelligence. She's peeing herself by the river here. She got basically cornered, and it looks basically like I can corner these units almost at will. They don't seem to have extraordinarily mental faculties to operate under these circumstances. So a little bit unfortunate so far. Again, we will try to give plenty of rope to this new update, and we will continue to see the pros and cons and understand things more. We're just getting into this, so I'm not going to be giving a final conclusion after 2 hours of gameplay. I don't mind these guys getting captured here. I want combat, and even though there's got to be 1,000 Western Empire forces here, they are all scurrying away as if they owe me money, and they don't have it. Okay, we'll take Legetta. We're the only kingdom that can have it. We might have to actually dump troops here or disband some units just to get a battle here. I could try to siege Ortesia, but a little bit disconcerting here that there's. Okay, we got another little thing here. We've found some wild trees. Fetch a price so we can. Looks like we can take some apples, or let the villagers know that there's a bunch of apples blooming. So it's a small thing, right? But you can decide basically whether or not to be tyrannical or just opportunistic and say, give us our apples. In this case, of course, we're going to raid the village. So before we do that, we're going to eat apples. You can hear our troops crunching apples while our low-level troops burn the villages down. Trying to get some attention here. But this is also a test of the AI, right? What do they do if there's just an army rampaging around Ortesia here, sieging and burning villages down and taking everybody's apples? What does the enemy do, right? There's tons of forces here. What you'd love to see is for them to all magnetize to you in a coordinated fashion, just like this, and everybody attack, but instead they're kind of running. They're all just sort of like, it doesn't feel like they're coordinating particularly well. So let's make this easier for the AI, or at least let's initiate some combat here. Let's shrink our army down to 400 and see if that causes. I mean, they have 900. They have 1,000 troops here. Hello, does anybody want to fight? Maybe we should have started with an army of peasants.
Do you have anything to say?
Okay, we're clearly favored to lose here. We're outnumbered 2-1. All right, so we get some more combat here. Hopefully it's a good battlefield to illustrate some tactics. And we've got our sling, right? We're going to get our sling on here, see what it's all about, see what kind of range it has. I love the cloud effect. The shadows are moving with the clouds in the sky. I think that's fantastic. Hopefully time passes in battle. I haven't heard if that's the case or not. Of course, there's a great mod that I've been playing with for a long time called the Time Pass mod, which allows time to naturally pass during battles. It's not a perfect system by any stretch, but it works pretty well, and it's a good effect. The time should move along in battle. That way, if you're fighting, an afternoon battle, evening battle, it should be twilight by the time the battle's wrapping up, right? It would be a really good effect. And it'd be nice if weather changed. If there's a thunderstorm at the beginning of the battle and then later the clouds broke and the thunder parted and the sun came out as your cavalry charged, we can hope for those kind of developments in the future. It's pretty clear, I think, from this patch that all of the naysayers on Reddit that's like Tailworlds has abandoned us. No, they're working on making big changes, and obviously this is not a huge company. They're clearly doing stuff. They're making stuff happen, and don't forget, of course, they're working on this full new DLC, which really is going to be a whole new game, right? We're talking a dramatically different game with the DLC, ship combat. It's going to be very, very different. So I think Tailworlds certainly deserves to be given the benefit of the doubt. I'll also say this too. It's really curious to me. One of the phenomenons I see all the time as we make a bridge defense setup here. We're outnumbered worse than 2-1, so we'll do a little bridge defense. Should be able to put a smashing on these pathetic Western Empire forces. But I want to say this. It is really a fascinating thing to me, and maybe it's common within the gaming community, but I suspect not. I see an awful lot of guys on Bannerlord, and sometimes it's a joke, but other times it's a real statement. And what they say is they go like this: I have played Bannerlord for 600 hours, and I tell you, I can't stand this game. And of course, the irony there is very clear to most people. Anything you've done for 600 hours, it's pretty clear you're deriving some level of pleasure, unless you're just an absolute sadomasochist poking needles under your fingernails. If you do something for 600 hours voluntarily, you're enjoying it somewhat, right? So it's an ironic statement, and what I think it illustrates, I guess, if I were to summarize what they're trying to say, articulate it perhaps a little bit more eloquently, is that they love Bannerlord, but there are moments where it frustrates the shit out of you, right? Where you have an incredible battle, and right afterwards, the king that you're a vassal for declares peace without talking to you or asking your permission or anything, and all your prisoners that you just took are instantly released. Then those prisoners sack your city while the AI runs off to the other side of the map. It doesn't help you, etc., etc. I think that is probably summarizing what most of those kind of grievances are really saying. They're saying this is an amazing game, and I've used the analogy before. It'd be like being married to an amazing woman with an awesome personality who's gorgeous and great with your kids, who never wipes her ass, right? It would be this real irony to have an amazing wife in every single regard, and all she had to do is wipe her ass, and she would be perfect. I think that's kind of what they're saying, right? Maybe that's a bad analogy, but hopefully people understand what I'm trying to say. Now, to hell with you, he says, as we get our sling game on here. Let's listen to it. Looks like I can just kind of hold it. And he yells after I kill somebody with it. He's like, yeah, which is kind of interesting. So we're going to have to play with the sling a lot more. Of course, I've only just broke it out here. We'll have to check the range. This is a good battlefield and a good situation to check the range. But we also need to destroy this onslaught of enemy forces. From a tactical perspective, I have two different monster squares here. One of them is a 2nd Division dismounted cavalry, completely jamming up the enemy on the side there as he fires his sling. And the other one is a 1st Division over there near our shock troops behind cavalry. Over behind me here we have skirmishers. I like to do this when I'm a skirmisher myself. I do observe them blocking the slingshots pretty readily. It seems pretty quick. It goes out there, I would say, much farther than javelins. Maybe it's not as quick to fire as bow and arrows, but it seems also to do pretty good damage. Of course, we'll continue to test it here as we do a little bit of tactics. Now I'm simply backing up these two defensive squares of infantry towards our shield and shock division. That's a line of cavalry with deadly shock troops behind him over there. That's what's going on. If you're curious, I'm also exposing the enemy's back and sides over here to our skirmishers and our horde of archers and horse archers. So we like this setup. Our skirmishers here have shields and are happy to joust with the enemy. I'm taking a few arrows here, but not too bad so far. Now you cannot use the sling, I think, with the shield, or more accurately, you're vulnerable while you're swinging your little sling. Right? I can hold my shield, but when I release, you're vulnerable. Very similar to javelins. Now they're very haplessly chasing our square right into the maw of our trap here. I think a lot of players, of course, would be at risk for this kind of a tactic as well. We're using a little Sun Tzu here, a little misdirection, or feigning weakness over there, and just going to smash them with an assault of cavalry and shock troops. We continue to get our sling game on here. I just took a javelin to the chest. But Kalinandros has a decreased ranged banner, decreased take and ranged attack banner, and he has really good armor and high athleticism. Now I'm going to dump my shield here because this battle is basically over. And I think I prefer javelins still, right? If I'm making 1,000 damage with a headshot. If I'm making an on-the-spot judgment here so far, I would say I still prefer javelins. There's more ammo with slings. Of course, you can put a whole bunch of rocks into your little pouch than a whole bunch of long wooden sticks. But be able to one-shot guys, especially with the 250 perk. And again, you guys, maybe I'm fully ignorant here. Just full disclaimer. That's a very, very clear possibility that slings come from bow skills, where I don't have a lot of skill with this character. If it is throwing, though, so far my gut is that I still prefer javelins, although slings probably have their place, and it's to be determined. We're not making any kind of final judgment on this first episode here. We are going to use slings more, and it does look like they're here for some more slaughter. I mean, you guys can see the power bar. This fucking battle is long over. They didn't just lose, they got plastered. And yet they're going to come in for another round here. You move these units back. We're going to play pretty reckless in this playthrough today. This campaign doesn't mean anything. This is a campaign a guy borrowed me. He sent me his save game with a difficult situation he wanted me to solve. We have a whole playlist of difficult situations where people send in either difficult battles or difficult campaign situations. I don't remember exactly his situation here as I try some long-range slingshots, but I think he had money issues and was getting attacked by a lot of different kingdoms. So we're very thankful. I appreciate it for you letting us play this today and share this with the folks on the channel. Callan Andros. I don't actually remember his name. I think it's Lonzo. I think this fellow's name is Alonzo. If I got that wrong, apologies, fellas. I've got some 50 or 60 submissions for the Disaster War series. Been pretty popular. I think guys like to see, you know, their character, their campaign being put on YouTube where hundreds or even thousands of people will see it. And of course, it's always interesting to see what somebody else would do in your shoes, right? And that is one of the concepts of it. All right, so we're forcing them to cross here. We're moving our units out of line of sight. We've got some archers positioned high up on this ridge, and I'm going to continue to fire sling bolts across the bridge here. It doesn't seem like I can hit them, but maybe if I angle it right, we can hit them all the way across there. So far, the damage seems to be pretty good, right? It's 70, it's 60, it's killing guys. All right, we just smoked a guy there in the leg, and it killed him, broke his leg or whatever. It's certainly a nice, cool aspect to the game. Now, I got to ask, right? Are there sling units? Is the tier 3 Imperial, can you get some slingers? I haven't seen anything like that. Or is it strictly for player, companion, and potentially enemy uses here? I'm done with this weak-ass enemy force holding out here, so we're just going to blast our way across here. I do have a cavalry division still, even though I dismounted one. Our archers are still shooting. We have tough infantry that's still alive because we blasted that first wave, just firing javelins into their face. And the damage with javelins, if you have high skill, is amazing, right? I did 1,000 earlier, 500 to that shot here. Even without a shield here, Callan Andros is kind of a beast. Our shock troops probably shouldn't be leading. They're getting cut down, but it doesn't really matter. This battle is way over. We might even do just a little bit of editing here as we smash our way through these enemy troops. Bunch of little peasants. This army is actually pretty weak, right? There's a whole bunch of... I actually see recruits and looters. And it, you know, for me, for tactical enlightenment, for the battles we're used to fighting, these are definitely a little bit like kiddie game down the street. And what I mean by that, if someone's watching this and don't know anything about our channel, we use a bunch of different mods to make Bannerlord more dynamic, more difficult, more interesting. And one of those really makes the enemy forces potent. I'll give the mod a little prop here in case anybody wants something like that. You want your Bannerlord experience to be more difficult. We've tried to share it extensively on the channel. Thank you again, Mr. Joel Hall, for putting me onto it. It's a pretty comprehensive mod here as I get chopped down saying it's so easy. But it's called the Strengthen AI mod. And what it basically does is allows you to edit large portions of the enemy forces, everything from how many troops they get for free. You can basically supplement the enemy forces. You can upgrade their units with EXP artificially. You can make their lords stronger. You can make their garrisons bigger, etc. So if you want a harder campaign, you need to go download the Strengthen AI mod. It's outstanding. Slumping down here a little bit here with these less than difficult battles. We're used to, of course, the epic Vlandian campaign continues. I appreciate all the support for that. This wild ride through the great difficult halls of Calradia. And comparatively, these battles here are just like, they're kind of small potatoes. You know, we're fighting Amitatis is being besieged. Okay, we just trapped these guys here. So the AI to me is still troublesome. It doesn't seem brilliant. We'll put it that way. Maybe it's a reflection of our society today, idiocracy transformed to Bannerlord. But the AI seems to be suiciding here in front of us on a regular basis, or having apocalyptic. What's the word? I always get the word wrong. They're having. Yeah, that one. They're having a seizure by the river a lot of times with us so far. They're just kind of freezing up like a deer in the headlights. So our army's pretty wounded here. I don't know if I really want to siege. And we have... oh, shit. Well, we just lost the lake rats anyway, so we got abandoned. That's another process that I think, and I'm going to talk about this here just in case there's a 0.1 chance someone from Tail Worlds is listening and actually think that we have some kind of wisdom to share. One of the things I think should be added to the game is when a minor clan wants to leave you. And I can do this, right? I have a YouTube channel. We can broadcast some ideas. I think most people would agree with this too. You can obviously mention it in the comments if you don't. But I think when a minor clan is going to leave you for somebody else, right? They just left us right there. I had no say about it at all. They went to the Southern Empire. Presumably they're getting paid more, but they should be opportunistic. They should basically come up to me. There should be a message. It should be a game event where it says the Lake Rats such and such dude is a mercenary, and the Southern Empire, he should say it's nothing personal. It's just business. I know I'm like practically telling Tail Worlds to do here. You guys, of course, again, can leave your comments, but he should come up to you and say, look, I've got a much more lucrative offer. I'm going to give you, because we're already fighting with you, I'm going to give you the opportunity to meet it, to match it. There's another guy who had like a seizure there. And then you should have the opportunity to say, I can't afford that, or negotiate, maybe even say, hey, I'll pay this, or say, sure, I'll pay that, and retain the minor clans instead of them just ditching you like you're, someone who never wipes their butt, right? They should, see here, I don't want to fight it in the dark. I also don't want a lot of help from the garrison here, so I think we'll stall for a minute here while I finish that point. Then we'll smash Lucan to pieces here. It's another army we could have just casually captured, as the AI seems to be a little drunk. But the minor clans should do that, because for them just to leave you, especially like they can leave you right in the middle as you're sieging somewhere. You don't get any say about it because you're locked up in the siege. You can't even talk to the guy and be like, wait a minute. No, you fight for me. They just ditch you, and then an hour later they can be fighting you. Now I'm aware that there's treason, stuff like that in the medieval era, where mercenaries would switch sides, but they shouldn't do it all the time. I mean, otherwise you would just be executing these guys left and right. Now, another unbelievably beautiful scene. I almost don't need to fight the battle. I'll just sit here and admire the beauty. But then you guys would X out quickly, so we will fight another battle here. This should be another pulverizing. But again, we continue to explore these battles to see little differences. You guys may be noticing stuff, and sometimes the subtle stuff you have to fight 6, 7, 8 battles before you notice. I'm still getting used to the units being on the side here. It actually is very confusing for me. And of course, used to the RTS mod, I've got almost these invisible green arrows, which I also, that's another change that I think Tail Worlds could make, at least giving us the option to have an RTS mod like targeting system, so that you can actually see where the units are going to go stand, right? You draw out a formation for your archers. Right now, especially given the light conditions, I can barely see them. And man, there's your screenshot, right? What an absolutely picture-perfect graphical display this game is putting on, for sure. The shadows filtering through the trees. It's changing as the sun hits the clouds and stuff like that. It's pretty incredible. A+ to the graphics, right? I mean, what else can you say about it? There's like a thunderstorm to our left. There's clear sky to our far left. It's amazing. But it's difficult to see, right? And that's one of the most common questions I see on the channel, right? In fact, I get tired of answering it. They're like, what are those amazing green dots? And it's like the RTS mod. What is the mod that allows you to keep playing your character after your character gets knocked out? It's the RTS mod. How do you slow the battles down? How do you speed them up? It's the RTS mod. It's probably the singular most important mod as a content provider, but I would suspect for most players, like if you polled people, saying you can have one mod, what is it? The people who play with 10 mods, they would probably mostly say the RTS mod. And so you would hope that eventually something like that, or even more sophisticated, is part of the base game. Being killed in a battle, your commander gets speared, couch lanced for 12,000 damage in the first 2 minutes, and then a huge epic battle. You just got to watch the AI clash. Is suboptimal. I don't know how else to say that, right? We need to have more control. And I think it's another example where people are like, God, this game would be just incredible if, right? You hear the if word a lot. So this is less of a complaint and more of a plea, right? We're lovers of the game. I've probably played this game more than anybody but a handful of guys on the planet. I have thousands of hours playing Bannerlord. It's actually tens of thousands, effectively. But you know, we all want it to be something one notch better. But we'll give them some toilet paper. If you guys understand me. All right, so the sling accuracy is difficult to figure out. I'm just kind of whipping it at these troops here, and even up close, I feel like I have a hard time drilling guys. I like that he yells. He's like, yeah! I'm smoking dudes in the head left and right. You know, it's getting better with practice, and it is good damage. Now, it looks like he just reached into his bag and picked up some more sling balls there. I like that animation. It's an interesting and nice added development to the game, right? It basically gives you an alternative. Again, we'll have to do some research here. You guys can feel free to add it to the comments, but I'm pretty sure this is part of throwing. They're enhancing the throwing perk by giving slings to us throwers here. Again, I could be completely wrong. You guys can add that to the chatter. I am regularly ignorant. That is part of being human. It's key to be humble about that and just know when you don't know something, right? That is one of the most critical skills. Quite frankly, some of our politicians could learn to understand the things they don't understand. All right, we're in pretty good shape here. Seeking more battle. And was that Lucan? That wasn't Lucan. Oh, okay. Well, it seemed like that was Lucan. I was looking for his helmet. Now, Caladog is here, right? We can go chase down the Batanian Emperor, or whatever he's called, the Batanian High King. So we can get on a big battle here. They have like 1,300 troops there. By the time we get there, 1,500. We should make it before the castle falls. The castle has 200 defenders. And this is good. This is going to provide us one last mega difficult challenge for today's episode. I'll probably wrap it up after this. We did have a... Oh shit, Lucan coming through. There's Lucan.
Answer quick.
And he's engaging us here. Okay. Well, let's beat on this old guy here. Let's do some more tactics. We can trample the Emperor here on the way to smashing the High King as well. Do a little dynamic tactics here. Let's do a broad double formation flanking process here. We're going to hold them in the center with the with the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, and then this 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. We can flank the enemy's right once we destroy their cavalry. Move up our shield and shock cavalry in front of shock troops. We've got 2 different archer divisions, 1 on each flank. We've got horse archers, skirmishers, and this 1st division. Let me think here. All right, they do have 2 strong cavalry wings. We're outnumbered, but let's try this. Let's go ahead and again, we'll dismount our cavalry. We'll put just a big mass of dismounted cavalry in front of our archers on our right, or on our left side rather. And then what we can do is use those cavalrymen in both a charging shield wall of infantry and a square to repel their initial cavalry attack here. Should be pretty diabolical. 5th Corps here can be strafing the enemy if they magnetize towards our flank and commence the killing. Now, you hear the little subtle things in battle. I thought I heard something. Maybe that was... I'm actually doing this at work. I thought I heard something there. That's why I paused. Get these guys off these horses here. We have plenty of time. It looks like the enemy is sort of meandering up to the battlefield here. And again, hopefully, if you've never seen tactics like this before, hopefully you swing by the channel again. There are many good YouTubers out there, and I'm happy here at this stage of this episode. Little delay here before the battle gets hot and heavy to recommend several. Right, the Mr. Chicken has absolutely hilarious Bannerlord videos. Right, they're informative, they're funny. I watch almost all of his new content that comes out. Obviously, Strat Gaming Guide. Most people who played Bannerlord before are aware of Strat. The guy's a guru at the game. He understands the game inside out. He knows all about everything from how quickly villages recover from raiding, to how to put down rebellions at cities, to the meta part of battle. He's a tester, and he's highly dedicated to Bannerlord. Of course, there's Jackie Fish, who's one of the best guys at covering all the new mods. This guy gets access to mods I've never even heard about before, and the guy's clearly dedicated to his craft. It's just a non-stop production of different sort of shades of Bannerlord, right? You want some medieval Bannerlord or something like that. You want something different, Lord of the Rings style Bannerlord. Jackie Fish is probably your source that's going to have it first. And there's a half dozen other guys, of course, but I also don't want to offend that one great producer by not mentioning, all of them. There are many, many, many good producers of Bannerlord content out there. We're going to stick to our niche here. Our niche is going to stick to combat systems. We're going to have epic campaign playthroughs. I think the core of Bannerlord, personally, is the combat system. I think the combat system is the main selling point for Bannerlord. It's incredibly visceral. It's incredibly strategic, interesting, dynamic, epic, whole bunch of adjectives. And so we're going to stick to that. It's also my forte. As someone who's studied a lot of military history, played games like Total War, this is my forte, and I think I'll stick to it. So we are going to move in on our flank here. The enemy's being held in place by our center. We've got archers, skirmishers, and a cav division. Basically, pounding enough arrows at them, they're not willing to move. Good, that's fine. We want you to stand still because we're going to bring up our skirmishers, shock troops, and crossbow here and blitz your flank. And these poor Northern Empire fucks here interrupting us, rudely interrupting us on our way to the Battanians, are going to get what they deserve. I still haven't seen Lucan. I thought I saw him in the other battle. I thought I saw a nice big golden helmet, but it might have been one of the other lords. He's not the only one who wears kind of a golden helmet for the Northern Empire. There's a lot of gold in there. I see Asteroid, Vanguard, Ferris, and whatnot. And the enemy here, again, it's another situation where the AI should be splitting its archers or doing something else, but is still pretty they're pretty stagnant. They're not moving too much. I was searching for a different word. They're sedentary, right? And sedentary troops are usually in trouble against a good tactician. So we're going to close the vice here. We're pounding them from the flank. We're going to move cavalry to the other wing, skirmishers to their left flank, skirmishers to the right. There's like a song, right? Skirmishers to the right. There he is. Skirmishers to the right of me. There he is, stuck in the middle with the... and just smoked the Emperor with one of these slings. So that's a good final use of the sling here, right? Just smoked the Emperor for 80. It did pretty good damage against a heavily armored, obviously elite, supposedly elite Northern Empire villain or hero, depending on your perspective. So Lucan takes a rock right between the eyes, and their archers here are trapped because we have two different flanks running on them. We have cavalry and a horse archer division behind them now, and they're scrambling for safety, and they better have a shovel, right? You better start digging, boys, because there is no safety. We have you guys surrounded, and they are reforming something fierce. This might even just be a routing situation. Again, this is an enemy that attacked us. You guys attacked us. Don't run, right? Now, they might be... hit that guy right in the face with a sling bolt. Man, that would hurt. Might kill you, actually. They might actually just be reforming here, but it's another thing that they could adjust. They're reforming, but they're pretty helpless. Like this guy, there's no rear guard at all, right? They don't leave some guys to sort of mount almost a suicidal defense to save the rest. Instead, everybody runs for their life like it's 9/11, and they're getting cut down. They're just taking sling balls to the back and the neck. Let's see if any of these guys defend a little bit more vigorous. Now, they might just be flat out routing, but it actually looks like they want to fight. You see how they're turning? Usually routing troops don't turn at all. They just run as fast as they can. There are little subtle differences in the language, so to speak, of units in Bannerlord. You can kind of read their body language a little bit like you can read the body language of people. Someone has their arms crossed as you're discussing the price of a car you're trying to sell them. They're being defensive, right? They're objecting to something, right? We can learn a lot. In fact, they say language is 93% nonverbal. If you've never heard of that statement before, I love that statement. That's the difference between me saying, when you guys are on the Discord and you guys do something funny and I'm like, oh man, you stupid assholes. I mean it lovingly, where it's like, you stupid asshole. When someone cuts you off on the highway, there's no love there, right? Just like this little villager here. You know, language is very important, and the game itself has a little bit of a language system. These guys are trying to sort of mount a desperate attack, a defensive attack here. They sort of rallied to this point. But of course, it wouldn't matter what they did, right? This army had a better chance actually, let me rephrase it a different way. I have a better chance of having menage a trois with Natalie Portman and my wife than this army had of beating us here, right? This is not a situation the AI was going to win. Most players probably wouldn't win in this situation. We have a well-built army, and we have a seasoned tactical commander in charge, right? This is not a battle they could realistically win. Now, Callan Andros has just enough athleticism to sort of get away from the mob. I'm kind of surprised they're still fighting, and there they finally go. They just routed. Now, here's another part, right? I can't skip all that. I could do a little bit of editing there, but I'll probably leave all that just because what I was saying felt important. You don't have the RTS mode. So at the end of a battle where there's 12 troops, unfortunately you have to just chase them down. And at normal speed, right? Because you can't speed up the battle. These are just little things, but again, I'm hoping there's a 0.1% chance someone from Tail Worlds, we know they watch sometimes, right? Sometimes, you know, they listen. These guys are intelligent. I have spoken with people who work for Tail Worlds. You can tell these people are intelligent. They get it. And hopefully they continue to listen to the community and add in a lot of their requests. It's pretty clear that they are receptive to it. And it's constructive criticism, right? Just like we say on the channel here, if the volume's too loud, I'm gonna sit up for this shit, or you can't hear me, right, because the music or whatever, you guys need to leave that in the comments and just be constructive about it and say, hey, I couldn't quite hear you, please turn the music down, instead of, hey, you stupid dipshit, turn the music down, I can't hear you, right? That's your 93% nonverbal part. All right, so we're going to have an attack here. We're going to have one last battle for this episode. We're going to take on the High King here. We only have 450 troops, but we're healing as we speak. We'll have a little tiny bit of help from the garrison. I kind of want to wait for a little bit more daylight. Castles typically survive until there's about 30 troops inside, so we're going to be able just to get this on still. I think we'll have to launch it here. I don't want them to take the castle, of course, because then it'll ruin this battle opportunity. And I want one brutally hard battle for today's episode. I think we'll use our javelins for this, right? We're facing the High King here, another huge army full of nasty Batanians. We've got our decreased taken ranged attack damage banner. In we go, right? Callan Andros. Glory. Now, we've got a ranged army as well, so it's going to be interesting to see if they set up with skirmishers. Another unbelievably beautiful scene here. The sun is peeking over sort of a smoky autumn haze. I don't know what else you could say about the graphics. You guys have probably played more games than I have. I don't actually play a wide variety of games, but I've never seen a game that was so beautiful. It's unbelievably spectacular. I think I've made that point. We don't need to beat a dead horse. Plus, that seems wrong. Look at this high ground here. Let's take it. There's also a ridge we can cover behind if the enemy's closing on us and we need some cover. I'm always looking for tactical opportunities, especially landscapes that have 2 or 3 potential options. I can use this elevation to pound them, flank them, and circle them, but we can also retreat behind it into a reverse slope decline defense, or we can also hammer an anvil with cavalry coming down the hillside. Either way here, I think we're going to have a good shot to win. You can see we're outnumbered, you know, pushing 3-1 here. 400 infantry, it's interesting. So let's go ahead and set up our ranged units here. More than likely, they're going to come in hot. They have way more infantry than we do. We probably have better infantry, but they certainly have more. So let's make a big C formation here, right? This is your crane formation, or kill box for the fans of the channel. It's a modified form here because, of course, the enemy has a lot of archers. You don't typically want to do it on this kind of terrain either, and we don't have a huge amount of archers. We have a good amount of archers, right? A kill box is typically where half your army is ranged units and or archers. Here, you know, we've got quite a few shock troops and other infantry that won't play particularly well with the traditional kill box. Oh shit, there's a lord. Is that, no, okay, that's not Caladog. And look how fast they're moving, right? They are cruising and cruised right to the morgue as they caught a javelin in the back. You know, I don't know if we want them weaving like those cracked out players on, you know, Bannerlord multiplayer, but I think most people would prefer to see a little bit of evasiveness by the enemy, right? They seem to be sort of fish in a barrel. But then again, right, I mentioned this. We're highly experienced on the channel. They don't need to make the game so hard that the average player is just frustrated to hell. I still see people all the time saying, this game is so damn hard, it's too hard. Shit, they're moving in hot with their infantry. We got to back up here and then simulcharge. The 6th we should be able to clear out over here on the right side, but that 1st is going to get ran over. The enemy moves differently. I'll say that here too, as we have heavy combat. They're just pouring in with 350 infantry. Cavalry move faster, infantry move faster when they're pursuing you. Those are excellent changes. They should be desperate to reach your lines in a situation like this. Now here they're using their throwing weapons. If I was playing Botania against myself, I would charge everybody and hold fire. I would have every single guy get their shield, their sword, their meat cleaver onto our units. That way our ranged advantage disappeared. Right? All of a sudden, all of these crossbow would have, you know, a little bowl cut Botanian skirmisher attacking them. Alas, they're trying to throw javelins at Sergeant Crossbow. It's not going to go particularly well, right? They're probably going to get 2 shot or even maybe 1 shot by an Imperial Sergeant Crossbow. And the death spam tells you that. Now we can add to our own death spam here with some friendly fire. Now they have a lot more troops, right? They have 600 plus more troops coming. So we're going to have to gear up here for another wave. This is, okay, that's our cavalry that pursued a little too aggressively. The good thing though is we still have some ranged weapons left. We still have some ammo left. And a lot of our troops are still up. The power bar doesn't look particularly good. Now they're starting to reform archers. This is actually good AI. They're a little bit vulnerable, but don't leave your archers there to be slaughtered. Right now, the bad thing for the AI is we just got reinforcements. So we have our full army on the field. Fans of the channel, of course, will understand. I should have mentioned it before perhaps, but the battle size mod is off, right? So we're getting a lot more reinforcements for both sides in this episode because, of course, anytime you have less than or more than 1,000 units, they're not on the field to start. Now let's use this little ridge here. I talked about it before. You see that little hidden ridge? We can put 4 infantry divisions right here, cavalry divisions up here on this top ridge to prevent enemy cavalry charges into our ranks. We can cover both flanks pretty well. That'll really slow the enemy down. We still have a lot of archers up. I see a good amount of Fiend champs. We probably have 15 or 20, 25 Fiend champs, which means they have a lot of ammo, right? That's another factor there. Your Fiend champs have the most ammo of any archer. Try to make sure we're firing here. We're getting to the nitty-gritty of this battle. They are pushing into infantry heavy again, and I don't have enough infantry here just to completely mob them. So we are going to have to fight this with cavalry a little bit more grit in this next stage here. A lot of our units are probably banged up too. We do have some skirmishers that came in. I saw some javelins there, so we'll try to get them on a flank. The death spam sure looks good as our archers and Sergeant Crossbow go to work, but they're now starting to reach our lines. 223. Let's see here. And we can push cavalry up. We're going to have to charge with archers here. Anybody that's out of ammo, we need them in the battle as a foot troop. This 6th division over here, the skirmishers. I got half a health bar, right? Let's join this shit. We got a bunch of weak-ass Botanians here. Let's cut them down and finish this episode in style. They're firing javelins. You definitely got to watch out for that. Now, they said they've improved spear distancing. That was good. That guy realized he had a spear and moved way back. He's like, I don't need to get close. I got a spear. That's good because it's defensive, right? It's hard to get to the guy if he's poking a spear at you at 7-8 feet away. I like that change. It's another one of those subtle things. I'm going to withhold a major judgment on it until I've played 30, 40, 50 hours. Right now, I will say the balance still seems poor. Cavalry are just, they don't have a purpose other than defensively here. And these guys are fucking magnetized to me. In fact, I got smoked. And you know what that means, right? It means we have to watch the rest of this battle. The results don't really matter. Of course, my ego, we want to win here. Finish with a nice win against the High King, and it's close. But we'll do a little bit of a recap here in the last minute and a half of this episode. Some things that I really like. The graphics, no question. I've already talked about that ad nauseum. Amazing. The slings are really interesting. It's very dynamic. I'm curious to see if there are higher end slings. I'm curious to see them in Siege. And I'm very curious to see if there are units that are using them. Is there an Imperial Slinger? Right, they should add another unit to the tree, or maybe there's a minor clan that's mostly slings, right? It'd be interesting to have even more variability to troops out on the field. The balance still seems a problem, and of course I've talked about it probably till you guys are sick of it. Cavalry really need to be improved. They should just destroy archers when they're on them. In other words, if you drive your cavalry into a bunch of archers with no support from infantry or pikes, the archers should just, their bodies should go flying all over the place and they should be crushed. Just like these Battanians here just mangled the High King to finish today's episode. It's glorious, especially with a beautiful sunrise. On your bike, Caladog, come with us. It'd have been nice if we killed the guy. Actually, look at this shit. He fled. Caladog fled like a coward. Come with us. So there's a couple of different things I would suggest. A lot of people have solutions to cavalry and Bannerlord. I think one of the most obvious is units that are not heavily armored, when they're hit by cavalry, should suffer more damage and or they should get knocked to the ground almost every time. I don't know if you could stand up if a cavalry hit you while you're out on a battlefield. I don't even know even if you were prepared for it. I think it would just throw you on your back. So it'd be great as we look at the prisoners here in Caladog. Let's just take all these guys. I might have a second episode of this. We'll see what you guys think. But it would be great if the cavalry charge hit your archers and 80% of them were decked, right? So they couldn't shoot. They got to stagger around. They suffer damage. And obviously there's a delay where then they get trampled by more cavalry. If you repeatedly run cavalry through a bunch of archers, they should die. That's all there is to it. So hopefully some of these ideas and concepts get added to the game. I don't think it would be too hard for Tale Worlds to do that. I don't think it would be hard for them to adjust the minor clans. You know, let them make a counteroffer if they're going to leave. We will continue to explore this new mod, fellas. New mod. It's not a mod. This new version. And of course, if you want to see more, now's your chance to subscribe. We're going to continue to explore the new changes, the diplomacy system, etc. Please hit that like button on the way out. I really appreciate that. And with all that said, friends, I will see you fellas next time.